Late-night exploration of the academy revealed some interesting discoveries. The first unusual finding was related to Jean Delamer. Though access was restricted and attempting to enter by force was strongly discouraged. The investigation carefully avoided entering any private rooms during the nighttime search. While exploring a room with a large tree, an open shutter door was discovered. Though the details were kept as a surprise, this finding seemed significant enough to warrant further group investigation. Only a quick glimpse was possible before dawn arrived. A strange noise occurred, followed by all the watches receiving an automatic update. The update added an interactive map feature showing the academy layout, including room names like Dunning Hall and Lone Dormant. The dining hall location was confirmed on the map. The map revealed an intriguing multi-room area called Alpha Sanctuary behind one of the 5 shutter doors near the tree room. Though the name seemed odd, the location matched what was found during the night exploration. The watches lacked other typical features like time display or fitness tracking. Tension arose when Wolfgang expressed distrust toward Eva and another student, questioning their involvement in the investigation. This led to debate about past behavior and comments, with some defending giving everyone a chance while others remained suspicious. Venetia advocated for inclusion, suggesting that different opinions don't necessarily make someone untrustworthy. She argued that since everyone shared the goal of getting home, they deserved a chance. The concept of innocent until proven guilty was invoked. A compromise was reached to investigate in small groups, allowing everyone to keep watch over each other while exploring. The group agreed to head toward the tree room to check out Alpha Sanctuary, though some remained hesitant about certain pairings. Despite some reluctance to join others, curiosity about the new area prevailed. Based on previous reactions, there was optimism that the area would not pose immediate danger, though caution remained advisable during the exploration. The scene opens at a dining table where someone is sitting with an untouched bowl of cereal and their phone. A conversation begins about why they haven't eaten yet, with one person expressing concern about the other not touching their food. There is confusion about the cereal. It's labeled as Horn Flakes, but shows a picture of honey nuts on the box. This inconsistency bothers one of them, leading to a discussion about the trustworthiness of the food ingredients. There is mention that since Toshika was able to eat the food and seemed fine, it might be a sign that the food in this place is safe to consume after all. This provides some reassurance about the food safety situation. The conversation shifts to discussing how people seem to be looking for someone to look up to in this situation. The atmosphere is tense as they try to process their circumstances. Someone expresses needing to relax and that there is no need to worry. An offer is made to walk them to their room, but they decline, preferring to go alone. There is discussion about shutter doors and someone being upset about information being shared without proper protocol. They mention having 2 important pieces of information still unknown to others. Roles are introduced for what appears to be some kind of structured environment. These include staying at Evans Gurnick Academy until release is granted, no vandalism of property, and protection policies for students who follow regulations. More rules are explained about a trial system where students must participate and vote. There are serious consequences discussed for voting outcomes, including potential executions depending on correct or incorrect identification of wrongdoers. An announcement is made about an interesting secret beyond a door that could mean the difference between life and death. The information is deliberately withheld to encourage people to discover it themselves. The scene concludes with someone whistling and walking away, telling everyone to check their devices regularly for updates. The remaining people express confusion and concern about the situation and the mysterious secret behind the door. During an intense discussion about a mysterious secret, the group acknowledges they are in a dangerous killing game. Everyone agrees they should be extremely cautious since everything in this environment likely exists for a specific reason. There are concerns that even seemingly harmless things could be tools meant to manipulate them. The group discovers a shutter door leading to a hallway with a massive metallic door marked with a bright red alpha symbol. This area appears to be the sanctuary shown on their map. While some express hesitation about approaching, others argue that their resistance against the killing game begins by refusing to give in to fear. Upon exploration, they find the area contains a pharmacy. This discovery raises immediate concerns about dangerous drugs potentially being accessible. The group debates whether having medical supplies defeats the purpose of a killing game or could actually enable more dangerous situations. The team decides to thoroughly investigate the pharmacy despite the risks. They agree to reconvene in an hour to share findings, with strict warnings against anyone trying to steal dangerous substances. Their goal is to stay alert and document anything suspicious rather than avoid the area entirely. The pharmacy has an old-fashioned European style, with glass cabinets lining the walls, filled with various bottles and vials. Despite its vintage appearance, everything is spotlessly clean without any dust. The space contains medical equipment, including pressure-measuring devices and numerous medications. Serious concerns arise about potential substance abuse, with some members sharing personal experiences with addiction. The discussion highlights the lack of emergency medical facilities in their location, making any potential drug-related incidents especially dangerous. The conversation shifts to more mundane matters, with discussion about establishing a laundry routine. Despite previous tensions, some members attempt to normalize their situation by focusing on everyday tasks and cooperation, showing how they try to maintain ordinary life despite their extraordinary circumstances. A conversation begins about making friends and connections in a new place. Someone who has only been there for a day is encouraged to be more proactive about meeting people, as these connections could prove valuable later. The discussion is somewhat fragmented and hesitant, with lots of pauses and repetitions. The topic shifts to concerns about medication security in an open area where anyone could easily access it. Someone suggests locking up the place, but this suggestion is dismissed as unnecessary. The conversation becomes disjointed with many pauses and incomplete thoughts. The scene changes to exploring what appears to be a converted pharmacy that now functions more like a convenience store. They discover Bracola soft drinks and various items. The space now contains items not typically found in a traditional pharmacy setting. The conversation turns to a discussion about LARPing, live-action role-playing, and someone named Jean. They debate the differences between acting and LARPing, with some participants being defensive about LARPing not being the same as professional acting. Someone admits to possibly being a LARPer themselves. The group examines various items in the store, including perfumes and cleaning supplies. There is discussion about the extensive collection of chemical cleaners, with someone making a reference to Breaking Bad. The cleaning supplies inventory is quite comprehensive. The focus shifts to examining luxury perfumes in a glass cabinet. This leads to an interesting revelation when one person discloses they cannot smell due to a genetic condition affecting their hormone production and brain function. They explain how they maintain a notebook with over 1,000 entries describing different scents they encounter in books. The group begins examining medications in the pharmacy section. Most medications appear to be for minor ailments like coughs and allergies. One person demonstrates familiarity with various medications, revealing their parents used to rotate different medications on them before understanding their condition. The conversation concludes with concern about the ethics of giving someone random medications. While this past experience is acknowledged as potentially irresponsible, the person notes that the knowledge gained has become unexpectedly useful in their current situation. In a mysterious arcade-like setting, there's discussion about a suspicious gacha pawn machine with no clear labels or instructions. Its sketchy nature leads to it being called the ultimate blind box or scam. The lack of transparency about what prizes are available adds to the suspicion. There's confusion and uncertainty around some character references mentioned in dialogues. The conversation is fragmented and unclear, but involves speculation about potential prizes and free time events related to the mysterious machine. A major issue arises when trying to use the machine. It only accepts physical cash with no card terminal available. This presents a problem since everyone's money and belongings were left on the train. This sparks a discussion about how they'll be able to participate. The conversation shifts to joking about someone named Toes potentially creating their own economy or cryptocurrency. Someone suggests calling it blood money, which leads to gaming references and playful warnings about gamers being dangerous. Despite the lack of money, there's encouragement that currency isn't everything. The group maintains hope about cracking the secrets of the gacha machine through other means, while being careful not to damage private property. A character suddenly appears and reveals the machine is actually a pachinko device that's crucial to the killing game experience. It's explained that the machine dispenses Mora bucks, a special currency used for winning prizes at the nearby gachapon. Questions arise about why such a gambling machine would be placed in a pharmacy. The response draws a dark parallel between gambling and medicine, suggesting both involve trust and risk, with ominous references to potentially dangerous substances. The pachinko system includes a mercy feature that provides consolation rewards after certain failed attempts. The rules are complicated by various conditions involving lunar eclipses and calendar-based restrictions. The investigation continues to other areas, including a beauty products section featuring pixelated logos and hard-to-read labels. The scene shifts to a greenhouse area where characters discuss various injuries and security concerns. A scene unfolds involving stuck cabinets and a request for help, leading to a humorous exchange about strength levels. Despite the collaborative effort to open the cabinet, nothing is found inside, resulting in disappointment. The exploration reveals laboratory cabinets containing various plants behind glass, though their authenticity is questioned. The scene concludes with warnings about staring at items for too long and mentions of psychological conditions. While exploring an area with X-ray facilities, unusual posters were discovered on the walls. The posters appeared deliberately strange and oddly placed. Upon closer inspection from specific angles, they revealed hidden images of Tozu. The mysterious nature of these advertisements, with their nonsensical text placement and tiny product prices, suggested they were intentionally concealing something. A discussion ensued about whether to share the discovery of the hidden advertisements with others. Given previous tensions within the group, it was decided to keep this finding secret for the time being. The unusual placement and design of the ads strongly suggested they were meant to be found by specific people. The scene shifted to a medical facility area where various medicines and treatments were being tracked. Someone with ship captain experience offered insights about caring for crew members and recognizing common medical conditions, though their expertise seemed questionable. The medical facility appeared abandoned and in poor condition. The beds were arranged along walls, and there were concerns about cleanliness. The floor showed peculiar damage patterns that seemed intentionally created rather than from natural wear and tear. This raised questions about the facility's true purpose. A tense conversation developed between two people, with one using nicknames that upset the other. They discussed personality traits, using metaphors about ice cream and mochi, leading to disagreements about deep versus surface-level understanding of character. The discussion turned to the frightening nature of the medical facility, with talk of sickness, disease, and medical procedures. One person revealed a possible fear of needles despite trying to deny it. The environment clearly made some participants uncomfortable. The conversation concluded with a disturbing turn toward potential dangers, specifically regarding sleeping medicine that could be used maliciously. While one person claimed they were just being cautious about survival, others found the discussion of potential murder methods unsettling, especially so early in what was referred to as the killing game. The discussion begins with contemplation about preventing murders and protecting everyone. While someone expresses a strong desire to prevent any deaths, there is uncertainty about how exactly to accomplish this goal. The conversation reflects genuine concern, but also shows the challenging nature of ensuring safety in their situation. A major discovery is made. A massive vault door with a treasury-like appearance is found hidden behind some cabinets. The door has a mysterious pin pad with an eerie green glow, requiring a 4-digit code to open. The find was made by carefully noticing and investigating a gap between a cabinet and wall. The group attempts to crack the code by trying various numbers, including some immature combinations that others find lame and not funny. There's tension between taking the situation seriously and maintaining a lighter mood. Some suggest breaking the keypad, but others oppose this as potentially destructive to something important. Debate ensues about whether the keypad and vault are meaningful or just a red herring meant to confuse them. Some argue it could be their escape route, while others think it might be restricted to facility staff only. The group discusses whether to continue investigating or move on to other escape possibilities. Personal profiles are discovered containing detailed information about each person, including age, height, weight, and signatures. This revelation sparks surprise about how such private information was obtained. There are interesting reactions to age revelations, particularly about Toshiko being 14 and Wolfgang being a 22-year-old lawyer. While some seem unconcerned about the accurate personal information being available, others express serious worry about how this data was collected and what it means. There's a stark contrast between those treating it casually and those who see it as a concerning privacy violation. The discussion reveals the group's varying levels of concern about their situation. During an intense discussion, the group debates the complexity of their situation. They question how the organizers obtained their personal information, considering whether it was gathered from social media, though some mention not having much online presence. The mystery of how their kidnappers acquired such detailed info remains unsettling. Eva suddenly commands everyone to stop what they are doing and warns about a serious life-or-death situation. She explains that the profiles could be dangerous as they reveal people's strengths and weaknesses. Eva suggests the game creators might use this information to encourage murders among the participants. Eva expresses concern that more sensitive information like medical records and personal secrets could be added to the profiles in the future. She strongly advises against looking at any profiles to prevent possible exploitation. While some agree with her logic, others remain skeptical of her warnings. Wolfgang challenges Eva's approach, suggesting that while the profiles could be dangerous, warning people that the information could kill them, might cause unnecessary panic. This leads to tension as Eva defends her position while others question her motives. The situation takes a dramatic turn when someone reveals they secretly read everyone's profiles while others were panicking. They specifically point to Eva's profile, prompting others to check it despite protests. The room fills with holographic light as multiple people access the information simultaneously. A shocking revelation emerges about Eva. Her profile shows she is actually the ultimate mathematician, not the ultimate liar as previously claimed. This unexpected twist causes confusion among the group, who struggle to understand why someone would lie about having a more normal talent. The group processes this revelation with mixed reactions. They realize Eva's earlier warnings about profile dangers may have been an attempt to prevent her true talent from being discovered. This deception raises new questions about trust and motivations within the group. A tense confrontation unfolds with Eva, who appears to have been caught in some kind of deception. The group expresses disappointment and frustration with her apparent immaturity and incompetence. Eva becomes visibly distressed, turning pale before suddenly running away from the situation, leaving others confused about whether her reaction stems from shame or fear. Some members of the group begin questioning whether they are being too harsh in their treatment of Eva. There is debate about the severity of her actions, with some defending her while others maintain their criticism. The discussion reveals that Eva may have convinced them to ignore important warning signs that could have consequences in the future. The group acknowledges that someone's lawyerly judgment about Eva proved correct from the beginning. After the dramatic confrontation, everyone agrees to take a break from the investigation, showing signs of mental and physical exhaustion. Some plan to unwind with tea or coffee. The aftermath of the confrontation leaves everyone visibly drained, with expressions showing a mix of exhaustion, disgust, frustration, and embarrassment. Questions arise about Eva's previous behavior and the reasoning behind her apparent stunt, especially given the context of a recent kidnapping incident. Unable to sleep due to racing thoughts and confusion, someone is startled by the sound of their doorknob turning. It turns out to be Desmond at the door, leading to an important discovery about the dormitory security situation. Desmond reveals that all the room locks in the building are broken, raising serious security concerns. This discovery prompts a group discussion about safety measures. Someone suggests that tampering with doors without permission was inappropriate, though the information gathered proves valuable. The group decides to implement a buddy system for sleeping arrangements as a safety precaution. While some raise concerns about the possibility of a roommate being dangerous, others point out that such a scenario would be too obvious if anything bad happened. The plan is accepted, with students preparing to pair up and share rooms despite some initial hesitation. A discussion begins about Neolithicum batteries, an innovative technology that generates electricity while being super lightweight. This breakthrough in physics made headlines when first released. The topic came up while discussing some mysterious kidnappers who seemed to be fans and left these advanced batteries around. The group realizes they all received special items related to their individual talents, though some got more than others. These items are viewed not as mere gifts, but as potential incentives from their captors. There is tension around how to handle this situation. The group begins discussing sleeping arrangements. Eva and Deanna decide to bunk together, with some concern about keeping everyone safe at night. Ulyss takes notes about the pairing, causing slight discomfort among others who question the need to record such information without permission. A self-proclaimed matchmaker tries to take control of the pairing process, suggesting they should bond over shared interests like reality TV shows. This idea is met with resistance, and instead, an arm wrestling contest is proposed as an alternative way to determine pairs. The group decides to separate sleeping arrangements by gender, with girls staying in the dorms and boys heading to the dining hall. This decision disappoints some who had other preferences, but is viewed as the most appropriate solution for comfort and safety. The boys gather in the dining hall and devise a rock-paper-scissors tournament to determine room assignments. They split into 2 groups of 4 to make the process simpler. The system involves winners bunking together and losers sharing rooms. The final pairings are determined through the game. Mark ends up with Jet, Wolfgang with Willassis, Desmond with Kai, and 2 others pair up as well. Some participants express mixed feelings about their assigned roommates, but ultimately accept the results of the random selection process. A group of people appear to be having a discussion about sleeping arrangements. The conversation is fragmented, but eventually leads to a decision to pair up with someone named Kai. The group agrees it is time to head to bed as they need rest to find a way to escape their current situation. One person mentions they will update some girls about the arrangements the next day. The dining hall begins to empty as people leave in pairs. Only Kai remains behind, appearing distressed about being left alone. There is some hesitation and awkward moments as the remaining people exit the space. Someone observes Kai looking unhappy, but notices he isn't running away either. They deduce that Kai is probably more afraid of sleeping alone than sharing a room with them. Kai is compared to a sad dog who would likely follow if abandoned. They decide to accept the situation and find Kai's dorm room. While heading to the room, they pause to examine a vent that connects to a boiler room. They can hear a generator and speculate the vent was installed to prevent moisture buildup. Kai's room is identified as the 3rd one on the left, marked with his name. Upon entering Kai's room, they notice it has the same basic floor plan as other rooms, just with different colors and decorations. Kai retrieves a tape dispenser and uses it to create a boundary line across the floor, dividing the room into 2 territories. He warns against crossing the tape line into his side. Kai sorts through his wardrobe, while the other person realizes the bathroom is on Kai's side of the tape line. Kai assures them they can still use it when needed. Tired from the day's events, the narrator settles for sleeping on the sofa, their mind filled with questions about their situation. A philosophical discussion emerges about dreams and past lives. An analogy is made comparing humans to cats having 9 lives, questioning whether people repeat mistakes across different lives without realizing it, just like cats do. The next morning begins with an announcement at 8 a.m., featuring somewhat dramatic commentary about the beautiful morning ahead. The narrator wakes up on the couch, noting it feels strange to sleep in someone else's room. As they prepare to leave, they discover 2 envelopes that have been slipped under the door, one for each occupant. A confusing interaction begins as multiple people express uncertainty and confusion while examining what appears to be a wedding photo. The atmosphere is tense as they try to make sense of the image and its significance. The photo appears to be from a wedding, leading to questions about whether Wolfgang is married. A cryptic message is discovered on the back of the photo, reading like a riddle about a spider never leaving her web. The message gives off vibes similar to a weird Christmas card. Someone identifies Cassidy in the photo, which was found in an envelope. There is speculation about whether this could be a prank by Cassidy, though uncertainty remains about where these photos could have originated from. Another cryptic message is revealed on the back of a different photo. Like father, like son, beneath a ship's skin, hides of wolfish mind. The date printed on the photo becomes a crucial detail, leading to an important realization. The date on the photo, 20.1, raises questions about timeline inconsistencies with Wolfgang's student profile. A significant revelation suggests the photo was taken before Wolfgang was born, as he is currently 22 years old. This discovery causes significant confusion. The discussion ends with someone deciding to head to the dining hall due to hunger. The envelope and photo are kept for further investigation. The mysterious nature of these items continues to puzzle everyone involved. The scene shifts to a larger gathering, where it is revealed that everyone present has received similar, mysterious letters. This revelation changes the dynamic of the situation, suggesting a coordinated effort rather than random occurrences. Someone nicknamed Deadpool reveals a piece of paper containing personal information about Toshiko and a childhood incident from 3rd grade. This revelation creates tension and discomfort among the group, suggesting these letters contain private or sensitive information about each person. The scene opens with discussion of a photo showing children drawing. There appears to be some tension around a photo that contains potentially sensitive information. The photo seems to be related to someone named Toshiko and involves some kind of past incident from their younger years that is being used to create drama in the present moment. The situation escalates as someone claims they are a changed person from who they were years ago. They assert they would never engage in inappropriate behavior anymore. Another person dismissively responds that they are glad the person is done playing house, suggesting some past dramatic events. It is revealed that everyone has been given envelopes containing secrets about each other. While some secrets appear to be harmless jokes, others are hinted to be more serious. There is growing tension as this appears to be part of some kind of manipulative game being played with the group. The true nature of the situation is exposed. This is blackmail being used as a murder motive in some kind of killing game. The secrets were deliberately distributed so no one has their own secret, specifically to create distrust within the group. This revelation creates significant distress among those present. Some additional context is provided about how the secrets were handled. For less interesting individuals, the secrets were made intentionally vague and mysterious to encourage people to investigate each other further. This appears to be a calculated move to increase tension and suspicion in the group. A troubling revelation emerges that this entire scenario was inspired by someone named Eva, who had previously predicted this exact type of situation would occur. The mastermind behind this admits to eavesdropping on conversations to get ideas for their killing game, creating additional paranoia and distrust. The group tries to develop a strategy to handle the situation. Wolfgang suggests everyone should speak directly with the person whose blackmail they received. While some agree this is the right approach, others express concern about the risks involved in such direct confrontations. Debate continues about whether keeping the blackmail private might be more advantageous. While some express optimism about following Wolfgang's advice, there is underlying tension about potential misunderstandings or setups that could result from these confrontations. As the group disperses, questions arise about the wisdom of sharing blackmail information openly. There are concerns that the blackmail might only be effective if kept secret, and some worry about confronting others if the information is particularly serious. The scene ends with reflection on the cryptic nature of some of the blackmail messages, suggesting they may be intentionally vague to hide particularly damaging information. Someone considers seeking out Tozo for answers, noting their mysterious ability to appear and disappear quickly. A mysterious situation unfolds as someone contemplates different ways to navigate a building with hidden paths unknown to students. While preparing breakfast and returning to their room, they ponder potential hiding spots and suspicious locations like the pharmacy pin pad, though its code remains unknown. Careful consideration is given to breaking rules to get Tozo's attention, but the risk of being shot by an accomplice makes this plan too dangerous. Alternative communication methods are explored, including checking the podium for a hidden microphone, though this proves unsuccessful. A breakthrough occurs with the realization that security cameras could enable communication. A note is written requesting a meeting about a murder mode in the boiler room at 8:10 p.m. and carefully attached to a camera lens in a way that won't damage property. With time to spare before the potential meeting, attention turns to free time activities. A system of social interaction is introduced involving a pachinko machine and special currency called Mera boxes that can be used at a gachapon to obtain presents. A detailed explanation of the present system reveals how giving gifts can improve relationships. A preference chart shows student reactions with green arrows indicating likes, red arrows showing dislikes, and no arrows meaning neutral feelings. Players start with 10 Moro bugs as currency. There is discussion about a spooky location that most people avoid visiting. The conversation revolves around someone being willing to enter this mysterious place despite others staying away. This creates an eerie atmosphere and sense of intrigue. The topic shifts to expectations about meeting new ultimate students at Scarden Academy. There is reflection on how people typically wear their ultimate titles with pride, but in this case, the reality seems quite different from what was anticipated. A student describes their diverse academic interests beyond just mathematics, including science, literature, and aerospace engineering. They express frustration that their ultimate math title feels too narrow and doesn't capture their broader expertise and capabilities. The student shares their disappointment about writing a paper on Western speculative fiction that received no attention despite their ultimate status. They feel pigeonholed by their math title, preventing recognition of their other academic achievements. The conversation takes a lighter turn as they discuss potential romantic interests among peers, though one participant seems uncomfortable with this topic given their current situation in what they refer to as a killing game. The discussion moves to exploring how people earn their ultimate talents. One student, the ultimate debater, describes joining their high school debate club as a freshman, though another student seems to find this origin story unusually ordinary. A student shares their lifelong fascination with law and order, particularly courtroom proceedings. They describe how they viewed trials like grand stories and dreamed of becoming a defense lawyer, with judges playing important but limited roles. A conversation begins about someone being a late bloomer who didn't hit puberty until their first year of law school. They started college as a teenager, though they mentioned this wasn't particularly special. Their academic record was impressive, but caused some jealousy among others. The person reflects on their fortunate circumstances in life, including early exposure to law, strong academic abilities, and genuine interest in the field. They mention having 200 successful cases as a lawyer after spending a year as a legal assistant. This impressive track record causes some feelings of inadequacy in others. An evening announcement is made at 8 p.m., instructing everyone to return to their dorms for the night. A cryptic warning is given that this night could be life-changing, for better or worse. Someone then heads to a planned meeting in the boiler room. Someone mentions losing their luggage on a train containing important personal items, including their phone, wallet, laptop, and personal information. They express hope that whoever took the luggage would destroy it rather than misuse the information. A meeting occurs with a headmaster who arrives late. The headmaster teases about the person's impatience and mentions being busy with administrative work. They discuss a blackmail situation involving someone named Wolfgang, which was apparently decided by random selection. The headmaster explains that they obtained sensitive information because people couldn't keep secrets. They emphasize that once information is shared, it becomes part of an endless game of telephone, and having an online presence makes information even more accessible. The conversation shifts to decoding a cryptic message about Wolfgang involving the principle of parsimony. The message suggests looking for obvious answers that may have already revealed themselves, particularly regarding Wolfgang's behavior during a class trial. A scene unfolds involving room swapping between several students. Grace and Ulysses are switching rooms, with Ulysses moving in with Wolfgang. Grace appears notably happy about this arrangement, suggesting improved dynamics between roommates. The night ends with someone hesitating to spend the night alone in an unlocked room. Despite considering securing the door with a chair, they ultimately decide to stay elsewhere, heading toward what appears to be a laundry room rather than their assigned dorm. The scene opens in what appears to be a dorm setting. After some initial confusion about locations and people present, Damon is spotted after returning from a late dinner. There is discussion about sleeping arrangements, with some playful banter about sharing beds while maintaining boundaries. There is talk about the timeline of events, noting they are on the second day of what appears to be a killing game. Someone mentions staying on Kai's sofa for a second night to avoid being vulnerable. Someone apologizes for their English skills, though others note their English is above average. A nostalgic story begins about having a childhood fascination with ships. The narrator recalls watching ships at the pier with a friend who had lighter-colored hair, though the friend's interest wasn't as intense. The story builds up to both friends deciding to build their own ships with dramatic tension around the outcome. The scene shifts to morning announcements at 8 a.m., with discussion of time passing in their dangerous situation. There is mention of blackmail and commercial opportunities. The group realizes they have only been there for 4 days, though it feels much longer, and they question why no rescue has arrived. The conversation turns to blackmail situations and secrets, particularly regarding someone named Cassidy and her followers. There is discussion about how different people react differently to potentially embarrassing information, referencing a situation with someone named Toshiko. Ingrid arrives to announce it's laundry day, creating some reluctance among the group. Despite initial resistance, she insists on getting help with the laundry tasks. Some are dragged along somewhat unwillingly to assist with the chore. The group gathers in the laundry area, with Ingrid praising someone's organizational skills. There's discussion about why certain people were chosen to help, with comments about one person having house husband qualities due to being soft-spoken and polite, though they admit to lacking cooking skills. The laundry session begins with Ingrid maintaining a cheerful demeanor despite the early hour. Some basic laundry mistakes are made, like using too much detergent, leading to gentle teasing about parental dependency. The group works together under Ingrid's guidance to handle everyone's laundry. There was some discussion about being grateful for having help from other adults, with one person mentioning It was their first time sharing workload in ages. After completing their work, they discussed going to get breakfast, though there was some debate about whether they should stay to watch the laundry dry. The scene shifts to two people leaving a laundromat. One person is super excited about getting cereal from the kitchen, acting as if they were going somewhere much more exciting than just breakfast. Their enthusiasm about food seems to be a way of coping with their current situation within what is referred to as a killing game. There is a discussion about dining hall etiquette, with one person insisting they can't let the other go ahead since they were the one who extended the invitation. The conversation gets interrupted when they encounter someone who wants to have a private conversation about something important. A tense situation develops as someone who hasn't spoken much since a pharmacy incident subtly wants to share information. They insist on finding a private location, which causes some concern given the context of the killing game. Others express wariness about following someone to a secluded area. The scene moves to a private room where Eva reveals a blackmail letter about Desmond having dangerous weapons. This creates tension as the isolated location and sensitive information exchange make the situation potentially risky. The conversation reveals underlying trust issues within the group. Eva explains she chose to share this information because of past trust and cooperation, particularly regarding an earlier incident with a lawyer. She expresses remorse about how others have treated someone unfairly because of her. In return, someone shares their own blackmail information involving Wolfgang. The conversation turns to analyzing Wolfgang's blackmail, which involves a photo of his parents and suggests something suspicious about his father. Eva theorizes this might indicate concerning behavior patterns, though they lack concrete information about his family background. The discussion reaches a crucial point where Eva reveals she claimed to be the ultimate liar because she felt powerless in their situation. She explains that being known as the ultimate mathlet would have made her appear weak, so she created an intimidating persona through deception as a survival strategy. The concept of being the ultimate liar emerged as a deeply personal connection. This identity served as a coping mechanism and source of confidence for a while, enabling composure during investigations and mock trials. However, things took a turn when the true talent was revealed. A discussion about the nature of lying and talent unfolds. The concept of being the ultimate liar is questioned, as some wonder if it even qualifies as a legitimate talent. The situation appears destructive, both in terms of the apparent solution and its consequences. There is a request for secrecy, particularly from Wolfgang and Venona. The conversation raises red flags as it involves emotional vulnerability and trust issues. The authenticity of the confession is debated, considering the ease of emotional manipulation in this context. The conversation shifts to a mysterious poster in the pharmacy featuring Tulsa. Despite its apparent importance, recent events and revelations about true talents have pushed this investigation to the background. Plans are made to revisit this clue when time permits. The scene concludes with a rare smile and a walk back through the dying hole. While the immediate tension seems to dissipate, there are hints of an approaching storm that remains unknown to the participants at this point. A chaotic scene erupts involving Grace confronting Eloise about blackmail. The situation becomes tense as various blackmail materials are discussed, including Toshiko's and Ingrid's information. Some blackmail content seem trivial, like outdated cleaning supplies. The confrontation escalates as Eloise produces an envelope that Grace immediately seizes and destroys, tearing it up and flushing the contents down the sink. The intensity of the reaction suggests the sensitivity of the information contained within. The mood shifts as Cassidy arrives with a red carrying bag, bringing excitement about a video game called Sublime Slime Sisters Extreme. This rare cult classic game becomes the catalyst for planning a tournament, offering a welcome distraction from recent tensions. Tournament details are discussed, requiring paired participation. The game, found in a dorm room, is notably the only multiplayer option available. The timing remains flexible to accommodate more participants, though morning is suggested as optimal for gaming performance. An hour after morning announcements, discussions begin about an upcoming video game tournament. Some students express concern about playing games during their current predicament, questioning if they should focus on escape instead. Others note they've already tried escaping with no success, including checking the pharmacy. The tournament is positioned as a bonding event to build trust between classmates. While some students embrace this idea, others remain hesitant about participating or express being too busy to attend. The suggestion is made that building relationships and creating new memories together is important to prevent chaos. The room becomes energized discussing tournament details. Someone heads to get breakfast and return to their dorm. There's an underlying tension since earlier conflicts about blackmail, making the casual tournament planning feel somewhat disconnected from their serious situation. An awkward interaction occurs in the pharmacy where someone claims to need medication as an excuse to talk to another student. They end up grabbing random medication for irritable bowel syndrome, creating an uncomfortable moment. They attempt to smooth things over by offering a gift of mini dumbbells. The conversation takes an intense turn when someone issues a warning about their fencing abilities, claiming they can overpower much larger opponents even with just a pen. They make it clear they aren't interested in hurting anyone, but warn against unwanted physical contact. There are reflections on physical strength versus mental fortitude. Despite someone's impressive athletic abilities as an ultimate fencer, their difficulty communicating clearly and stuttering speech patterns suggest underlying vulnerabilities. The scene shifts to a different interaction involving social media influencer work. Someone describes their previous job creating fake frappuccinos for promotional photos, pouring homemade drinks into branded cups to simulate authentic products for their social media followers. The conversation ends with confusion about an unfamiliar brand name, Stardola. A conversation begins about someone starting their influencer career. The person reveals they struck a deal with Stella Dalla around the same time they began influencing, which was approximately 2 years ago. Their social media account took off immediately after posting photos, gaining lots of likes and messages, though they maintain a strict policy against private messaging with fans. The conversation takes an interesting turn as the influencer displays sudden confidence. When questioned about their content, they initially mention doing skits, but then backtrack. After some hesitation, they admit to initially posting filtered photos of themselves in aesthetic places, leading to questions about the authenticity of their social media presence. The scene shifts to a hallway encounter with Anna, who expresses concern about tensions between the narrator and Eva. Anna mentions Eva seems down lately and asks if she's shared anything, showing genuine worry about the situation. The narrator remains guarded, wondering if Anna is truly concerned or trying to gather information. A nighttime announcement is made at 8 p.m., instructing everyone to return to their dorm rooms. The message includes an ominous warning about how the night could bring life-changing events. The narrator then proceeds to Kai's room, where they discuss an upcoming tournament. A strange dream is recounted involving physics class, bananas, and sticks. The dream includes attempts to create a thermometer and compass, ultimately leading to thoughts about makeshift explosives. This segment has an underlying tone of potential foreshadowing for future events. The next morning, Kai wakes the narrator at 8:30 a.m. for the game tournament starting at 9 a.m. Despite initial reluctance, the narrator honors their agreement to attend. Kai leaves to wait in the dining hall while the narrator gets ready. The dining hall has been completely transformed for the tournament. The furniture has been rearranged, and impressive gaming equipment has been set up, including a DJ pad and speakers. This setup far exceeds the narrator's expectations of simple handheld consoles. The scene concludes with someone mentioning additional gaming equipment, including an arcade machine in their room. The setup appears more elaborate than initially expected, suggesting this tournament is a major event within the facility. A casual conversation unfolds at what appears to be a gaming tournament setup. Eva has surprisingly helped set up the event and earned the title of honorary host. She shows interest in the tournament despite initially not planning to participate. The atmosphere is light and friendly as everyone gets settled in. Eva reveals she has a small gaming device from a gachapon machine from the pharmacy. It's a niche console that sparked some discussion about gaming systems. Eva explains she prefers playing games solo and came to the tournament mainly because of her interest in Blame Slam Sisters, which she describes as a cult classic game that some people judge others for liking. A surprising turn of events occurs when it's revealed that Tai wrote Eva's name on the tournament whiteboard without her knowledge. The tournament uses a bracket system, and Eva discovers she's been paired to compete against Kai. This leads to some tension as Eva had not intended to participate as a player. A discussion about rules and agreements takes place, with some playful banter about privileges and conditions. The situation becomes slightly tense, but maintains a lighthearted tone as participants navigate the unexpected tournament participation. Eva becomes deeply absorbed in her gaming, displaying typical gamer focus and temporarily ignoring those around her. When finally engaged in conversation, she reveals her hidden passion for gaming, though she still expresses reluctance about participating in the competition. Eva shares a personal story about how she used to eat lunch in bathrooms and how portable gaming devices became her source of comfort. Though initially presented as serious, it's revealed to be a joke, showing her playful side and comfort with the group. The scene shifts to tournament preparations, with participants arranging furniture and checking the whiteboard brackets. There's discussion about Eva's involvement and her surprising engagement with the tournament setup, suggesting she's more invested than initially apparent. The conversation turns to speculation about Eva's true motivations for helping with the tournament. Some suggest she might be more comfortable now that she doesn't have to pretend, while others simply think she's embracing her inner gaming nerd. The scene concludes with final tournament setup preparations and controller distribution. A casual conversation takes place about gaming experience and ability. There are comments about someone being unexpectedly skilled with controllers despite having a bookish appearance. The discussion reveals preconceptions about different personality types and their typical relationship with gaming. Instructions are given about game controls and practice sessions. The controls are described as complex, but with simple basic mapping. Quick learning progress is made during practice rounds while waiting for tournament participants to arrive. The early morning atmosphere builds excitement for the upcoming competition. A discussion about music at the event occurs, with someone attempting to make comparisons to another artist. This leads to the revelation of strict conditions about music discussion being prohibited. Despite the complimentary nature of the comments, the rules remain firm about not discussing musical abilities. The tournament setup begins with participants being paired up. Names are arranged on a whiteboard, and basic rules are explained, including best-of-3 match formats. The atmosphere becomes charged with competitive energy as the first match is about to begin. During an intense gaming match, focus is maintained despite the surrounding noise. A critical moment occurs with careful timing and button combinations being executed. The music intensifies along with the game action, creating a tense atmosphere. Suddenly, a blackout occurs, plunging everything into darkness. Confusion and chaos ensue as participants try to orient themselves in the pitch-black environment. The situation is complicated by the building being sealed off, making navigation extremely difficult. A solution emerges when someone activates their trinket, producing a holographic light. Others follow suit, activating their trinkets to provide illumination. The combined light from 8 trinkets allows the group to see each other in the darkness. Investigation reveals that the building generator has stopped working. Discussion about a lower floor containing a backup generator leads to planning a mission to restore power. The group learns about storage closets and potential solutions to the power outage. The group forms a chain by linking arms and ventures into the darkened hallway. The space appears more intimidating in the darkness. They decide to split into pairs to search different areas efficiently. Teams are assigned to investigate different closets in search of the backup generator. Some participants express anxiety about exploring the dark basement-like area. The search begins with careful coordination between pairs, despite some reluctance and nervousness. While searching in darkness, the group found themselves unable to locate anything significant despite their efforts. There was discussion about checking on Grace and Eva next door. The atmosphere was tense as they contemplated their next move. A startling moment occurred when frantic footsteps were heard running past the room. This unexpected sound created confusion and unease among those present. The situation began feeling increasingly scary as they tried to make sense of who might have run by. The footsteps seemed to originate from the boiler room. There was a growing sense of dread as attention focused on that location. Physical symptoms of anxiety began manifesting: racing heart, tightening chest, and an almost possessed feeling of being drawn toward the boiler room. Upon entering the boiler room, everything was completely still and silent. The darkness made it difficult to see anything clearly. Unlike previous visits, this silence felt ominous, as if the whole world was holding its breath in anticipation of something terrible. A dim light suddenly appeared through vents in the wall. Though not bright enough to fully illuminate the space, it revealed something shocking lying on the floor, a disturbing discovery that caused immediate distress and panic among those present. A body discovery announcement was made, requiring all students to gather in the boiler room. The victim was identified as Wolfgang, found dead in shocking circumstances. This discovery marked the beginning of a real class trial, confirming the reality of the killing game. Discussion began about whether the death was accidental or intentional. Questions arose about why the killer hadn't come forward if it was truly an accident. The situation became increasingly emotional as students arrived and processed the shocking scene. The mood grew heavy as remaining students arrived, their expressions changing dramatically upon seeing the scene. The reality sank in that one of their own was responsible for Wolfgang's death, making everyone a potential suspect. The topic of blackmail emerged as a possible motive. Each student had apparently been shown compromising information about another person, adding another layer of complexity to the murder mystery. The scene begins with a review of how a tablet operates. The tablet contains crucial information about a crime scene, including details about a victim named Wolfgang Ackery. The tablet provides specific information about the crime, including the time of death, but notably omits certain key details. Wolfgang Ackery, identified as the ultimate lawyer, was discovered in an underground boiler room. The body was found kneeling in water with the upper body slumped over a concrete platform. The estimated time of death was determined to be around 9:35 p.m. Unlike a previous case involving a dummy murder, where the cause of death was explicitly stated as blood loss, this tablet mysteriously omits Wolfgang's cause of death. This omission appears intentional, designed to maintain equal chances of success between the killer and investigators. A tense moment occurs when several students attempt to leave, but are stopped by an intense voice reminding them of the rules. The situation is presented as life or death. If they don't solve Wolfgang's murder and uncover the killer, everyone will face dire consequences. The investigation procedure is outlined, emphasizing that examining a crime scene involves more than just studying the body. It requires tracking the victim's movements, checking places they visited, and speaking with people they interacted with. The victim's dorm room is identified as an area of interest. The environment is described as perfect for deception due to blind trust among the group. This trust is suggested to have created conditions that the killer likely exploited. The situation highlights how difficult it is to suspect friends when everyone trusts each other. The cause of death is established as the central mystery. The investigation focuses on determining how Wolfgang died, with the belief that understanding this will help other pieces fall into place. The missing information about cause of death appears to be a deliberate game design choice. A taser gun is discovered at the crime scene, described as an unusual item that wasn't previously present in the boiler room. Yellow plastic pieces matching the taser's color are found on the floor, suggesting they were originally attached to the weapon. The exact significance of these pieces remains unclear. A taser was mentioned briefly, though its exact relevance was unclear. Shortly after, a knife was discovered floating in the surrounding water. Upon closer inspection, there were unmistakable traces of blood near the knife, suggesting it may have been connected to the murder. The location of the knife in the water, rather than on the platform, raised questions. The investigation revealed that half of the generators had melted, which explained the power outage. The damage looked extensive, as if an explosion had occurred. The scene resembled the aftermath of a bomb blast, though it was determined the explosion likely came from the generator itself rather than a separate explosive device. An extension cord was found in the water, but it appeared damaged with a red tip lined with black residue, suggesting it had been burned. This cord wasn't previously seen in the boiler room, indicating it came from elsewhere, possibly storage rooms. Unlike other electrical equipment provided which worked perfectly, this cord was notably damaged. Debris fragments were discovered floating near the generator. The material appeared to be metal or plastic, but didn't match the generator's components. Upon further examination, evidence suggested these fragments came from an explosive device, confirming the presence of a bomb at the scene. To ensure safety, tests were conducted to determine if the water was electrically charged. A light bulb test proved the water was safe to touch, allowing for closer inspection of evidence and the body. Despite confirmation of safety, some investigators remained hesitant to enter the water. A distinct odor permeated the area, a combination of burnt rubber from the damaged generator and another bitter scent resembling a mix of cereal and rubbing alcohol. This suggested some kind of chemical reaction had occurred at the scene, adding another layer to the investigation. Discussion turned to establishing alibis during the blackout. Some individuals were at a games tournament in the dining hall, while others claimed to be by a tree. Investigation revealed the building complex likely had separate generator systems for different areas, complicating the timeline of events. A small piece of scrap metal was discovered on the floor near the door. While some thought it was insignificant, others suggested it could have fallen from the generator or pipes above, or possibly been carried by someone named Kimgrid. The discussion highlighted different perspectives on what evidence deserved attention. The shocking nature of Wolfgang's death was discussed, noting how just yesterday he had been eating breakfast with everyone. The brutality of the murder and mangled state of the body made investigation challenging for those involved, as this was a real person rather than just another case to solve. Two investigators agreed to work together to examine the body, acknowledging it would be easier as a team. They found Wolfgang with a frozen look of horror on his face, his once bright eyes now dark, mouth open as if he died mid-scream. Despite past conflicts, his death brought no satisfaction. The investigation revealed scratched palms and strange burn-like markings resembling tree saplings on Wolfgang's wrists and arms. A taser was found nearby, but showed no signs of being fired. The burns pattern and location raised questions about their source, as the generator seemed too far away to be responsible. A massive bruise was discovered on the back of Wolfgang's neck. Given the timeline since the blackout, body decomposition was ruled out as the cause. A suspicious red dot near the neck bruise was found, resembling an injection site, with inflamed skin around it suggesting it was recently inflicted. The position of Wolfgang's body appeared suspicious, located between the only opening in the fence. Questions arose about why he would be in that specific spot, rather than using the stairs. His once pristine suit was now crumpled and water damaged, indicating he had been in the water. A wet piece of paper was found in Wolfgang's back pocket. Despite water damage, it contained a partially readable message indicating a planned meeting at 8:15 a.m. in the boiler room with instructions to close the door. The note appeared to be written with a low-quality pen, making much of it unreadable. The timing of the planned meeting was analyzed. Some investigators were asleep at 6:30 a.m., while others were in the dining hall setting up equipment. They decided to keep the note confidential rather than directly questioning others about their whereabouts at 8:15 a.m. to avoid raising suspicion. A confusing discussion begins about a mysterious letter and its contents. The conversation centers around a secret and potential blackmail involving Wolfgang. There is uncertainty about the author's meaning and intentions behind the letter. The conversation reveals that Wolfgang may have been blackmailed, which could explain why he agreed to meet someone in such a sketchy location as a boiler room. The fact that Wolfgang came to this dangerous meeting spot suggests he was either oblivious to the risks or desperate enough to ignore them. There is discussion about evidence that Wolfgang failed to secure properly, which could have been valuable to the case. It's noted that Wolfgang seemed to let his guard down around certain people before the incident occurred. An interesting detail emerges about there being no morning announcement that day, which caused some students to nearly oversleep. This unusual occurrence with the announcement system could be significant to understanding what happened. Two key investigation points are identified: examining a taser gun and determining the exact timing of a blackout that coincided with the murder. There is speculation about whether Wolfgang was attacked earlier and if the culprit tampered with the electrical system. A crucial discovery is made about the boiler room doorknob. It appears to have been flipped, with the lock now on the outside instead of inside. This suggests careful pre-planning rather than a spontaneous crime. A theory develops that Wolfgang may have been deliberately trapped in the boiler room. Loud music playing in the kitchen could have prevented anyone from hearing calls for help through the ventilation system. The taser found at the scene might be a red herring, since it was never fired. Physical evidence presents some contradictions. While there is blood on the floor and a bloody knife was found, Wolfgang lacks expected blood traces on his face or mouth. This inconsistency complicates understanding of the exact sequence of events. The investigation begins with checking the storage closet after finding an extension cord in the boiler room. The presence and origin of this cord raises questions about its connection to recent events. The team decides to speak with Cassidy first before continuing their search of the storage areas. Cassidy is found wandering the hallway, appearing lost in thought. When approached, she explains she was doing a hallway sweep, though this seems to be just aimless walking. The conversation reveals important details about a game tournament that had 8 participants: Chad, Mark, Grace, Jean, Kai, and 3 others. A crucial detail emerges about alibis during the time of the incident in the boiler room. While those in the dining hall might seem to have alibis, only 2 people, the narrator and Kai, have solid alibis. The tournament timing creates complications, since Wolfgang could have arrived earlier than others. The timing of events becomes more complex as it's revealed Wolfgang died at exactly 9:30:95. This suggests he may have been unconscious for at least an hour before death. A mysterious noise was heard after searching storage, but its source remains unknown. The layout includes multiple storage closets labeled A through D. Questions arise about unauthorized entry into the boiler room. Initial suspicions are diffused as it's explained that the boiler room was checked after hearing someone run through the hallway. The building lacks sound isolation, making it possible to hear activities from other rooms. The investigation reveals footsteps were heard coming from the direction of the boiler room. A debate ensues about the logical escape routes for the perpetrator. The most likely path would have been back to the first-floor hallway, though sounds could have come from above. The footsteps heard are believed to belong to the killer, though there's disagreement about whether they were heard immediately after the murder or sometime later. The timing of when the group went upstairs becomes a crucial detail in establishing the sequence of events. While exploring a fresh Windows installation, attention turns to a map showing Teller's Closet B. This leads to an investigation of various storage areas and closets within the facility. The initial focus is on backup generators, with discussion about how Cassidy and Jet may have restored power during an earlier blackout incident. In storage column A, a significant discovery is made, a rolling pin with suspicious handprints at its base. The pin shows signs of unusual use, with handprints positioned as if it was wielded like a tennis racket rather than used for rolling. A noticeable dent appears on one end, and the pin is unusually dusty compared to other kitchen utensils. Discussion turns to how the rolling pin ended up in the closet. The timing is puzzling since Grace and another person were monitoring the area earlier. This suggests the pin may have been planted before anyone came downstairs, though questions arise about why the perpetrator didn't use that opportunity to escape. The investigation moves to the final closet, where extension cords are discovered behind boxes. These cords match those found in the boiler room, but are intact with their other halves. The slim internal plugs and similarity to boiler room evidence suggests the killer accessed this closet for equipment, though the exact purpose remains unclear. A disturbing discovery of dried blood pools in the hallway raises questions. The blood pattern seems unusual compared to Wolfgang's injuries, which only showed marks on his neck. This suggests the blood might belong to someone else, adding another layer to the mystery. The narrative shifts to recount an earlier awkward interaction with Eloise, who made an unsettling comment about potential violence. The conversation highlights growing tensions among the group as they deal with the stressful situation. After Tosa left, attempts to investigate Wolfgang's room led to an emotional outburst from Grace, who apparently had a strong reaction and ran away. This suggests Grace is particularly affected by recent events, possibly due to a close connection to the situation. A situation involving Grace and Wolfgang was discussed, suggesting they had grown quite close recently. Their relationship seemed to be developing in an interesting direction, particularly given Grace's typical behavior patterns. The exact nature of their connection remained somewhat unclear, but appeared significant. Prior to the tragic incident, Grace and Wolfgang had apparently spent time together in Wolfgang's room. This arrangement came about because Grace was experiencing some frustrations with Venenos for unspecified reasons. Grace showed enthusiasm about this development in their relationship. Grace was discovered blocking access to Wolfgang's room, causing concern since the class trial was approaching. Despite others' attempts to reason with her, she remained firm in preventing entry. This led to various people dispersing to different locations, some to the dining hall, laundry room, and courtyard. Eloise and others developed a plan to gain access to the dorm room, deciding to confront Grace through strategic questioning. They hoped to appeal to her ego until she eventually allowed entry. The group split up to handle different investigation tasks efficiently. During the confrontation with Grace, she initially refused entry, claiming she had already searched the room thoroughly and found nothing of interest. This protective behavior raised suspicions about possible hidden evidence. The group questioned whether her actions might be breaking investigation rules. Upon finally gaining access to Wolfgang's room, they found it surprisingly casual and lived in. The room contained scattered clothes, including a woman's jacket belonging to Grace, a large toy bear, and numerous legal books. The setup suggested regular visits from Grace. The investigation revealed that Grace and Wolfgang had become quite close. Grace mentioned Wolfgang had been feeling unwell that morning, complaining of stomach issues, which prevented them from attending a planned games tournament. This detail raised new questions about the circumstances surrounding the incident. The conversation begins with confusion about someone's contradictory statements from the previous day. Multiple people express hesitation about attending an upcoming tournament. Wolfgang initially said he was too busy to attend, but there's more to the story. He actually wanted to play pachinko instead. Despite initial reluctance, Wolfgang was convinced to join the tournament. The discussion shifts to observations about room contents and decorations. Someone notes that certain items don't appear related to either golf or law. There's a comparison made to Damon's room, which is described as looking very basic or default. The conversation reveals that Wolfgang had agreed to attend the tournament yesterday, but changed his mind after learning about a pirate's attendance. A key revelation emerges that Wolfgang claimed to be too sick to get out of bed, but was later found in a boiler room, suggesting he wasn't actually sick. This raises suspicions about his behavior, especially given his usual commitment to honesty. A mysterious letter found in his blazer pocket becomes a point of interest. The conversation turns to alibis. Damon has an alibi. He woke up with Kai at 8:30 a.m. and they were late for the tournament. They went to the dining hall together, providing verification for their whereabouts. However, some uncertainty remains about earlier activities. A significant piece of evidence is discussed, a taser gun found in the boiler room. There's uncertainty about whether it was fired, but it's considered a potential crucial clue in Wolfgang's death. Someone with expertise is asked to examine it. The investigation continues with questioning of various individuals. Alice is found searching through Wolfgang's ottoman. When questioned about her whereabouts during the murder, she claims to have been with Desmond in the courtyard. Importantly, she mentions never experiencing a blackout, revealing that different buildings must have separate power sources. Questions arise about why Toza didn't fix the blackout, suggesting it might have been intentionally left unfixed, as it was important to the killer's plan for escape. The investigation reveals distinctive footstep sounds, likely from someone wearing socks or sandals rather than shoes, possibly to avoid leaving identifiable shoe sounds. The atmosphere grows tense as people note something feels off about the location. The excitement of the tournament has been replaced by the grim reality of Wolfgang's death. Some participants show reluctance to fully engage in the investigation, leading to interpersonal tensions. While investigating a murder, a crucial discovery was made about the timing. A small clock on a music patch showed 9:45 a.m., which turned out to be the exact time of the murder. The clock had frozen at this time due to a blackout that occurred simultaneously with the destruction of the generator. The timing of events was significant. A gaming tournament had started at 9 a.m., with the murder occurring just 35 minutes later at 9:35 a.m. The killer strategically chose this time since 8 potential witnesses were distracted by video games, creating a perfect opportunity to commit the crime. In the kitchen investigation, a key piece of evidence emerged. One knife was conspicuously missing from the knife set. This detail became particularly relevant since a knife was discovered floating in the boiler room water. The connection between these findings suggested this was not mere coincidence. The investigation led to Deanna, who was found in a distressed state. When questioned about her whereabouts during the blackout, she claimed to have been alone in her room doing makeup. However, her lack of visible makeup and nervous behavior raised suspicions about her alibi. The investigation moved to the courtyard, where Toshiko and Ingrid were found under the bandstand. Toshiko appeared emotional with puffy eyes, and both seemed hesitant to discuss their investigation findings. Their behavior suggested they might be hiding important information. A crucial testimony emerged about Wolfgang on the morning of his death. Toshiko encountered him in the dorm hallway while returning from the pharmacy. Wolfgang had lied about attending the tournament, contradicting his previous day's statement about being too busy to attend. This inconsistency raised red flags. Additional details revealed that Ingrid, who shared a dorm with Toshiko, overheard the conversation with Wolfgang. Wolfgang had mentioned retrieving clothes from the laundry room, but Ingrid couldn't recall any laundry being left behind. She attributed her uncertainty to a severe headache she was experiencing that morning. A peculiar smell of cereal mixed with alcohol was detected, similar to chloroform. The presence of a pharmacy nearby suggested the possibility that chloroform could have been obtained from there. This discovery raised suspicions about how the killer might have used such substances. There was an interaction with Wolfgang around 8:10 a.m., shortly after the morning announcement. The timing of this encounter became a crucial detail in establishing the sequence of events. Someone had already been inside the pharmacy by 8 a.m. Wolfgang appeared completely normal during this encounter, which contradicted earlier statements made by Grace about Wolfgang being sick. This discrepancy suggested either Grace was lying or Wolfgang was being deceptive about his condition. The timing of Grace leaving Wolfgang's room became a critical point of investigation. If she left before 8:10 a.m., she would have missed Wolfgang's interaction. However, if she left after 8:10 a.m., she would have witnessed it, suggesting possible deception in her story. During a blackout, some individuals witnessed others passing by and heading down the stairs. This observation likely led to the discovery of the crime scene. There were suspicious circumstances surrounding these events, including evidence of involvement with items from a closet. An important detail emerged regarding perfume products in the pharmacy. This revelation connected to why many people overslept and missed the morning announcement at 8 a.m., suggesting the possible use of substances to affect people's consciousness and memory of events. The investigation reached a critical point as everyone was instructed to gather at the Tree of Ignorance. Time was running short, and there were warnings about potential consequences for delays. The group assembled near the tree, with varying emotional states among the participants. The impending trial created tension as they prepared to present their findings and determine the truth behind recent events. A significant discovery was made regarding a missing blast door from a taser gun, adding another layer of complexity to the investigation. This revelation caused visible distress among some group members. The gathering concluded at the Tree of Ignorance, described as a barren replica symbolizing the contrast between knowledge and ignorance. The group prepared to begin the trial, with some individuals promising to reveal additional information during the proceedings. The scene opens with nervous excitement and anxiety as a group prepares for something significant. There is laughter mixed with fear as someone jokes about everyone being doomed. The mood swings between determination and dread as they discuss an upcoming trial that could last between 30 minutes to 2 hours. A discussion about odds and statistics takes place, noting that 14 people working together have better chances than one person trying to mislead everyone. However, some remain pessimistic, pointing out that if luck were truly on their side, they wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. Deanna makes an emotional plea to the killer to step forward voluntarily to avoid the class trial. This request is met with skepticism from others who doubt a determined murderer would surrender so easily. Another person delivers a harsh message to the killer, warning about severe consequences. The group begins descending into darkness via an elevator. The machinery sounds familiar, but the atmosphere is different due to the absence of Wolfgang. There is a poignant reflection on how Wolfgang was a real person with feelings, aspirations, and family, someone whose voice will never be heard again. The narrative shifts to personal doubts about the upcoming trial and whether the investigation was thorough enough. There is a strong sense of determination to face the trial head-on, despite the emotional weight of losing someone who seemed to have formed a genuine bond with others. As the elevator reaches its destination, the mood becomes tense. The final segment reveals this is a trial scenario in what appears to be a killing game setting. The rules are explained. Participants must vote for who they believe is the blackened killer. If they vote correctly, only the killer is punished. If wrong, all innocent participants face consequences. The stakes are literally life or death. The group discusses the murder of Wolfgang with high tension. Grace faces initial suspicion for blocking access to Wolfgang's room during investigation. However, multiple participants confirm Grace attended a game tournament, providing her an alibi. Talk of a blackout emerges as a key event. It's revealed the blackout only affected the dorm building. The tournament attendees split into pairs to restore power using generators in storage closets. This creates additional alibis for several participants. The systematic search involved 4 pairs checking different storage areas. The discussion turns to evidence found in Wolfgang's room, golfing equipment, and a woman's blue jacket. This suggests Grace may have spent time with Wolfgang before his death. The revelation causes tension, especially regarding proper roommate etiquette about overnight guests. The group continues piecing together the events leading to the murder. The initial room assignments were determined through games like rock, paper, scissors for the male students in the dining hall. The original pairings were Jet with Mark, Desmond with Jean, Damon with Kai, and Wolfgang with Ulysses. Soon after, Grace and Ulysses agreed to swap rooms, resulting in Grace bunking with Wolfgang and Ulysses with Winona. On the morning of the murder, Wolfgang told Grace he had a severe stomach ache and couldn't get out of bed. Despite planning to stay and help, Grace was convinced by Wolfgang to attend the gaming tournament instead. This contradicted earlier plans, where Wolfgang had expressed interest in attending the tournament himself. A major inconsistency emerged in Grace's story. If Wolfgang was too sick to walk to the dining hall, how did he manage to get all the way down to the boiler room where his body was found? This would have required descending 4 flights of stairs, which seems implausible for someone supposedly bedridden. Toshiko revealed seeing Wolfgang in the hallways around 8:10 a.m. after Grace had left. During their encounter, Wolfgang appeared perfectly healthy and even mentioned going to the tournament, directly contradicting what he had told Grace about being sick. A water-damaged note was discovered in Wolfgang's blazer pocket, with partially legible text mentioning the boiler room. This note appears to be the reason Wolfgang went to the boiler room. He kept this note secret from his roommates, suggesting he wanted to keep the meeting private. The discussion turned to blackmail, revealing Wolfgang had previously advocated for sharing blackmail information, but apparently didn't follow his own advice. The note could have been from either the person Wolfgang had blackmail on, or from someone who had blackmail information about Wolfgang. A student confessed to having their own blackmail letter thanks to Wolfgang, who had approached them after everyone received envelopes. Wolfgang had given them his envelope for safekeeping. The person with Wolfgang's actual blackmail information remained silent despite calls to come forward. The group concluded that circumstantial evidence alone wasn't enough to solve the case. They needed concrete proof. While some wanted to force everyone to reveal their blackmail information, others argued for respecting Wolfgang's wishes to keep such matters private, especially after his death. The discussion focuses on understanding Wolfgang's death by connecting different pieces of evidence. Initially, there was speculation about Wolfgang being stabbed to death based on a bloody knife found floating in the boiler room water, and bloodstains found on both the boiler room and hallway floors. Some theorized that Wolfgang was chased into the boiler room, where he met his end. a crucial revelation emerged that contradicted the stabbing theory. Upon proper examination of Wolfgang's body, there were no stab wounds present. Instead, 3 specific injuries were found: 2 marks on the back of his neck, a bruise and a tiny red dot, and burns on his hands. The burns were noted to be unusual and not typical of regular burn injuries. The burns on Wolfgang's body resembled corona paralysis, a condition typically seen in lightning strike victims. The pattern looked like a big tree drawn on the body, which is characteristic of lightning injuries. These burns were confirmed to be fresh, ruling out any pre-existing injuries from before the killing game. The boiler room where Wolfgang was found contained a small concrete platform surrounded by ankle-deep water, boxes of garbage, and a severely charred generator. Initially, there were theories that the generator might have caused the electrocution, especially since it coincided with a blackout at 9:35 a.m., which was also Wolfgang's time of death. An important detail emerged about the water in the boiler room. It was not conductive. Testing had been done multiple times to confirm this. The water could only conduct electricity if it made contact with 2 separate energy sources, and the generator's exposed wires weren't touching the water. This ruled out the possibility of electrocution through the flooded area. A new piece of evidence was introduced. What initially appeared to be a toy gun was actually identified as a taser gun found on the boiler room floor. This discovery suggests that the electrocution may have been caused by direct contact with the taser rather than environmental factors like the generator or the water. The conversation shifts to the origin of the taser. The group discusses how everyone has dorm rooms themed around their talents. This leads to speculation that the taser may have come from Desmond's room, given his particular talent, though he claims to have never seen it before. Desmond strongly denies ownership of the taser, stating he had no knowledge of weapons in his room. He argues that if he did have weapons, he wouldn't leave them unguarded during a killing game. Some students, like Jean and John, support Desmond's claim, noting his previous helpful behavior. Evidence emerges clearing Desmond of involvement in the murder. Louise confirms being with Desmond in the courtyard at the time of Wolfgang's death. However, some students remain suspicious of their alibi, suggesting possible collaboration between Desmond and Eloise. The discussion moves to Wolfgang's injuries. Besides the burns from electrocution, he had a bruise and a small red dot on his neck. The group begins analyzing these additional injuries to understand what happened during the murder. A rolling pin is identified as a potential weapon used in the attack. The pin was found in storage closet A near the crime scene, complete with a dent and handprints. This explains the bruising on Wolfgang's neck, suggesting the killer wanted to render him unconscious. The group reconstructs the sequence of events, theorizing that the killer knocked out Wolfgang with the rolling pin before discarding it in closet A. They discuss the timing of when the pin was discarded, considering the different groups that searched the closets. Additional evidence surfaces about the killer's movements. During the search for a backup generator, Kai and another student heard footsteps in the hallway leading to the boiler room. However, other students present at the time didn't hear these footsteps due to ongoing conversations. Multiple people heard mysterious footsteps in the underground floor during the investigation, but initially dismissed them. These footsteps likely belonged to the killer fleeing the crime scene, since all tournament attendees were exploring in pairs and had solid alibis. This revelation suggests the killer was dangerously close by, separated only by doors. The footsteps were notably soft, suggesting the person had removed their shoes and was walking in socks. This detail is important because while everyone wore socks, different shoe types would have made distinct sounds. By removing their shoes, the killer avoided leaving identifiable footstep sounds that could have revealed their identity. Looking at the building layout and everyone's locations during Wolfgang's murder becomes crucial. The complex consists of dorms on the left, a courtyard in the middle, and a building with a tree on the right. The killer's true identity becomes apparent when mapping everyone's positions. Diana emerges as the prime suspect since she's the only one without an alibi. Everyone else has verified locations. Tournament attendees were accounted for. Desmond and Ellie were in the courtyard, Tushiko and Ingrid were in their dorm, and Winona was confirmed to be in the tree building with another witness. The investigation reveals blood trails and weapons, both a rolling pin and a knife. The rolling pin had 2 handprints, suggesting it was held like a tennis racket for maximum force. Evidence suggests Wolfgang, not the killer, likely carried the knife for self-protection after receiving an anonymous basement meeting request. Diana's role as the ultimate cosmetologist becomes significant as she could easily conceal any wounds from her confrontation with Wolfgang. Her extensive cosmetics collection and expertise would allow her to hide injuries, including bandaged wounds. Diana accidentally confirms this theory by failing to deny covering up wounds. A crucial detail emerges that challenges the theory about Diana. The note found in Wolfgang's blazer requested a meeting at 8:15 a.m., but according to the tablet, he died at 9:35 a.m., over an hour later. This time gap doesn't align with the theory that the killer immediately attacked Wolfgang upon his arrival. The timeline of events in the boiler room is being questioned. Wolfgang was likely knocked unconscious shortly after arriving, but there's a long gap between that and his death. The idea of an hour-long struggle between Wolfgang and Diana seems implausible, suggesting there's more to uncover about what really happened. There are accusations that Diana is faking her emotional response to appear innocent. However, the evidence doesn't fully add up. While Diana lacks an alibi and her blood was found in the boiler room, the timing of events raises questions about her involvement in Wolfgang's death. A crucial detail about the boiler room door is revealed. The doorknob had been flipped, so the keyhole faced inside, and the lock faced outside. This means anyone inside would be trapped if the door was locked. This detail contradicts the theory of Diana being the killer, as she wouldn't want to trap herself inside. A piece of evidence was found near the boiler room. A thin piece of metal that could have been a folded hairpin. This suggests someone may have used it to pick the lock. The timing of footsteps indicates this happened during the blackout, though lockpicking in darkness would have been extremely difficult. The investigation reveals that someone else must have locked the door and likely flipped the doorknob beforehand. This suggests premeditation. The perpetrator knew Wolfgang and Diana would be in the boiler room and prepared the trap in advance. Diana finally begins to share her story. She received a note 2 days prior, slipped under her door. The handwriting matched a note from Wolfgang, though it was later revealed someone was likely impersonating him. Diana kept quiet about the note earlier, fearing it would be used against her. Diana describes arriving at the boiler room around 8:40 a.m. She found the door slightly open, went inside, and closed it behind her as instructed by the note. The room was dark except for the security camera light. She discovered Wolfgang lying in water, making strange noises. Wolfgang was acting strangely, speaking cryptically about meeting Diana and asking forgiveness for what he had become. He talked about being a failure and unable to become someone else. Diana tried to help him escape via nearby stairs, moving closer to the platform where the fence had a gap. In a tense moment, someone stumbled over and reached for help by holding hands. Though wanting to assist, there was hesitation about entering the water, as staying on the platform felt much safer. This internal conflict created feelings of guilt and regret about not taking more direct action. A critical moment unfolded when Wolfgang made an unexpected move, reaching inside his blazer while words of encouragement were being offered. The situation quickly turned dangerous, with tension building as his true intentions remained unclear. Finding the door locked created a frightening predicament. Quick thinking led to searching for defensive items, resulting in discovering a taser gun. Despite having the weapon aimed at Wolfgang, pulling the trigger proved impossible. Fear and confusion took over, leading to backing away instead. The scene transformed dramatically as everything turned white except for Wolfgang, who became pitch black. A disturbing sequence followed with the sound of his body hitting the pavement and a knife falling into water. The eerie silence afterward was deafening. The escape from the boiler room was accomplished through clever improvisation, using a hairpin to pick the lock. This took multiple attempts in complete darkness, showcasing remarkable persistence and resourcefulness under extreme pressure. The true nature of the trap was revealed. The door lock had been deliberately moved to the outside, forcing self-imprisonment when the door was closed. This was part of an elaborate plan to frame someone for Wolfgang's death. Discussion turned to Wolfgang's motivations, suggesting he may have experienced hallucinations that triggered his violent behavior. The possibility of substance-induced hallucinations was raised, pointing to drugs potentially obtained from a pharmacy. Investigation focused on the method of drugging, leading to the discovery of a small puncture wound on Wolfgang's neck. This suggested an injection was used rather than oral administration, explaining the quick onset of effects. A timeline problem emerged when it was realized everyone had alibis for the crucial time of 8:15 a.m. This created a puzzle about how the crime could have been committed if all potential suspects were accounted for. The discussion reached an impasse regarding the timing of events, leading to speculation about possible deception in the alibis. The complexity of the case suggested someone wasn't being truthful about their whereabouts. The discussion shifts focus to examining Diana's testimony more closely, particularly regarding the events surrounding Wolfgang's death. There appears to be a correlation between the generator explosion and the timing of the death that warrants further investigation. The flash of light Diana described coincided with the generator exploding, followed by a blackout. While some argue the generator wasn't connected to the death since its wires weren't touching the water, others maintain the taser gun was the murder weapon. However, Diana firmly denies ever firing the taser. A debate emerges about the murder weapon. While the taser gun seems like the only logical option, there's discussion about whether it could have been fired in advance and planted in the boiler room. The only evidence that Diana didn't fire it is her word. Questions arise about access to the boiler room and timing. Since the room was unlocked, the lengthy time gap between entry and the murder becomes suspicious. The isolated basement location made it an ideal spot for covert activities. The investigation turns to examining what caused the generator explosion. Theories range from electrical faults to the taser discharge, creating an energy overload. The presence of mysterious red metal debris in the water suggests another factor was involved. A strange chemical smell, described as a mix of cereal and alcohol, was detected in the boiler room. This indicates a chemical reaction occurred that wasn't related to the generator or taser, pointing to another piece of evidence still undiscovered. The investigation leads to Chad's dorm room contents, specifically his lithium batteries. These red metallic objects containing explosive chemicals could explain both the mysterious shrapnel and the chemical smell in the boiler room. A loud boom was heard right before the power loss. The lithium battery theory gains traction as lithium explodes on contact with water. The timing of the explosion suggests the battery entered the water seconds before the generator blew up. Given the timing and circumstances, if a battery was involved, Diana would have been the only person who could have thrown it in the water. However, she claims her injured arm would have made this impossible. The mystery of how the battery entered the water remains unsolved. A new theory emerges suggesting the battery fell from the generator rather than being thrown. This is supported by the shrapnel's position and the room's layout. The concrete platform's distance from the generator, combined with Diana's injured arm, makes it unlikely she could have thrown the battery effectively, especially with Wolfgang nearby posing a threat. A breakthrough reveals that an extension cord was likely wrapped around the battery and suspended over the generator. This unusual method might have been chosen specifically because it seemed too complex to be believable. The addition of the cord would have made it especially difficult for someone with an injured arm to manage. Investigation focuses on the ventilation system between the boiler room and dining hall. The setup includes two connected vents with a small shaft between them. The specific positioning of these vents becomes crucial to understanding how the crime was executed. A detailed explanation emerges about how the vents could be manipulated to create a pulley system. The setup allowed for precise control over when the battery would enter the water. When the vent closed, the cord would slide forward, submerging the battery and electrifying the water where Wolfgang stood. Technical details about the extension cord installation are discussed. Despite initial concerns about the cord's plug size, it's revealed that the slim internal plug could fit through the vent grates, making the entire setup possible without fully opening the vent. The investigation narrows to 8 suspects who had access to the dining hall during the tournament: Damon, Kai, Grace, Eva, Cassidy, Jed, Mark, and John. Most claim to have been watching a game together near the TV, away from the vent. Eva is identified as the prime suspect. Unlike the others whose voices were heard during the game and whose positions could be accounted for, Eva was spotted standing near the vent corner, making her the most likely person to have executed the complex murder plan. A heated discussion breaks out about a mysterious incident where loud music apparently masked something important. The focus quickly turns to Eva, who becomes the center of suspicion. Someone named Damon has made accusations against her, but Eva dismisses them, claiming his theory has major flaws. The debate centers around a crucial piece of evidence: a cord tied to a bed. Eva points out a major flaw in the accusation against her, questioning how she could have disposed of the cord. Others suggest it could have been untied during a blackout, with Eva potentially practicing the untying in advance. The discussion shifts to suspicious sounds heard during a confrontation with Wolfgang. Initially thought to be a knife hitting water, the sound is now believed to be an extension cord falling. This revelation leads to increased skepticism about Eva's previous statements and actions. Questions arise about how Eva, despite being under heavy surveillance, could have managed to steal various items from Jet and Desmond's rooms. Eva defends herself by pointing out the physical impossibility of reaching certain heights, suggesting taller students should be under suspicion instead. The theory about Eva using boxes in the boiler room to reach the generator is presented. While Eva admits this could have been possible, she argues that opening the dining hall vent without being caught would have been impossible, especially during the tournament setup. A major breakthrough reveals that the timing of the game tournament wasn't coincidental. It was deliberately planned to provide an alibi. Eva, who helped organize the tournament, had the opportunity to coordinate the timing perfectly with her alleged plan. Cassidy's testimony reveals that Eva had volunteered to help with tournament preparations, including rearranging furniture in the dining hall. This gave her access to crucial areas and the ability to set up elements of the trap in advance. The position of a chair near the vent becomes a critical piece of evidence. During the blackout, the chair mysteriously moved from its original position, suggesting someone deliberately repositioned it to access the vent. The final pieces come together regarding the morning of the incident. Eva arrived later than claimed and volunteered to place speakers around the room. The strategic placement of these speakers, particularly near the vent, appears to have been calculated to mask suspicious sounds. The dining hall had no clock, which explains why someone was eager to check equipment in the morning. Upon discovering a clock, they wanted to ensure it would only be powered on after their arrival. The trap setup occurred in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 took place in the boiler room and involved connecting a lithium battery to an extension cord, which was carefully threaded through the boiler room vents. Phase 2 happened in the dining hall, where the cord was tied around the vent that was left open. The third phase involved suspending the battery over a generator. These elements combined created a pulley system that could only be triggered by closing the dining hall vent. A key question emerged about how someone could have closed the vent without being noticed during the tournament. The solution involves the reclining dining hall chairs. Someone could easily reach behind and close the vent while appearing to simply recline their chair. While not completely hidden, this action would be subtle enough to avoid attention during an engaging video game competition. The murder required several items: a battery, extension cord, rolling pin, taser, syringe, and drugs. A major question arose about how these items could have been collected when everyone was on guard and rooms were being monitored. The items were actually accessible. The battery was common knowledge, the syringe and drugs were available in the pharmacy, and the taser was discovered through a blackmail motivation. The suspect had opportunities to collect these items despite being watched. A crucial detail emerged regarding timing. The perpetrator needed to see Diana enter the room to execute the plan perfectly. The dining hall was too noisy to rely on sound, suggesting visual confirmation was necessary. This led to the theory that school security cameras were used. The investigation reached a turning point when focusing on how the killer could see inside the boiler room. Simply peeking through the vent would be too obvious. This led to examining other potential viewing methods, including an unexpected device, a game console brought to the tournament. A heated discussion takes place about whether Eva has a console in her possession. Someone insists she must still have it, since she never had a chance to dispose of it, even during the blackout period, which only lasted about 60 seconds. During that brief time, Eva was likely busy with other tasks, like moving furniture. A detailed explanation of a murder case unfolds. The incident began with blackmail threats that prompted the killer to target Wolfgang Akide while planning to frame Diana Venezia. The killer arranged separate meeting times at the boiler room, 8:15 a.m. for Wolfgang and 8:45 a.m. for Diana. The killer took advantage of a game tournament planned by Cassidy and Chad. They manipulated the timing of events and were pleased when both Wolfgang and Diana declined to participate, as this fit perfectly into their murderous scheme. The murder weapon preparation involved an extension cord wrapped around a car battery stolen from Jets. The killer strategically placed this in the boiler room and connected it through vents to the dining hall, carefully timing their movements to establish an alibi while setting up the deadly trap. Wolfgang arrived at the appointed time, carrying a concealed knife. The killer ambushed him with a rolling pin and injected him with sleeping drugs. They left him in the flooded area while going upstairs to help with music equipment setup, strategically placing speakers to mask any sounds of struggle. The murder was executed when Diana arrived at 8:45 a.m. Wolfgang, affected by the drugs, attacked Diana with a knife. The killer triggered their trap, dropping the battery into the water, causing a massive electrical discharge that killed Wolfgang instantly. The explosion caused a blackout and destroyed evidence. The investigation concludes by identifying Ava Sunaka as the killer. The evidence points to her elaborate scheme, including her strategic position in a specific chair during the events. This revelation leads to intense emotional reactions and confrontations among those present. The conclusion of the case brings raw emotional responses, particularly from those directly involved. The reality of the situation sinks in as justice catches up with the perpetrator, despite their desperate pleas and attempts to deny their guilt. The situation calls for adaptation and transformation, like a chameleon changing its colors to match its surroundings. There is a clear determination to follow Wolfgang's unfinished path and evolve into something completely new and different.